to Cooking with Kathy. Listen, this is my first ever episode of doing Cooking with Kathy, and you're going to enjoy it. Today we're actually going to be baking, and listen to this. This is my first time actually baking in front of other people. Why? Because this past Christmas, I decided with my grandchildren being here that I'm going to bake for the first time. And what I mean for the first time is using homemade ingredients. I've always used box cakes before, and I started cooking with homemade ingredients for my grandchildren for Christmas, and so I decided to do it on here. So listen, every episode there's going to be a segment called Manna from Heaven. So here's the manna from heaven today. 2 Timothy 1:7 tells us God didn't give us the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. And that's what I stood on when I realized, why am I afraid of cooking or baking? I love to cook. I love to cook savory foods. I'm very good at it. I have 2 big sons and a husband and grandchildren. I cook all the time for them, but I wouldn't bake homemade things. Why? Because I was afraid of the precise measurements. I let fear come in. And what we have to do is blow fear out of our lives, and that's what I'm doing now. I have started to bake. I've baked cupcakes. I've baked a cake with my grandchildren. They loved it. So today we're getting ready to bake some cookies together, okay? All right, so what we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 2 softened sticks of butter. Now listen, I took this butter out a couple of hours ago so that it could be softened. You don't want to take it out too early, like overnight, but you do want to take it out in enough time for it to soften so that it will work out really good when you blend it together with the sugar. Next, what you're going to do is take 1 cup of white sugar, and what you got to do too is make sure that it's a full heaping cup. 1 cup of white sugar. Then you take 1 cup of brown sugar. I'm going to have to do 2 half cups. Why? Because my full cup will not fit in there. But do 2 halves, pound it down, make sure you get it full. Do another half. And the brown sugar, some people use just straight white sugar. The brown sugar helps to get you a more chewier cookie. If you like yours chewier, which I do. So use another half cup. That's 2 cups. And so we're going to use our paddle. We're going to put it down, lock it, and we're going to begin to blend this slowly. Why? We're going to mix it slowly so that the butter and the sugar will begin to incorporate. Watch it, make sure it doesn't get too creamy. You want it kind of thickened. And just to let it blend, let it mix, let it do its job. That's good enough. Make sure that you also have a scraper. Why? You're going to have to scrape it off of your paddle. You're going to have to scrape it down on the sides. But that's the consistency you want at the beginning with your brown sugar, your white sugar, and your butter. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to begin to mix in 1 egg at a time. I've taken out 2 eggs. They've been room temperature. And some people don't like to crack it, and I do. I'm pretty good at cracking eggs. So you do 1 egg. Make sure you lock your bowl in place, lock the head, and then let the butter begin to mix in with the egg and with the brown sugar. Do 1 egg at a time. Why? Because you don't want to over whip your eggs, right? You want to do it slowly. Take your second egg, crack it, put it in. And then we're going to blend that. I have it on about a 2 right now because we don't want to over blend it. We don't want to overdo our mixture. So let that blend. And next what we're going to do is we're going to add some vanilla. Now, I've watched a show recently where I saw a chef use this pure vanilla paste. A lot of people like to use the regular vanilla flavoring, but what this does is it gives you an extra punch of vanilla. So I've started using this, the vanilla paste, and I put in 2 spoonfuls of the vanilla paste Trust me, it gives it a punch and you do not want to overdo it. What we'll do then is blend that in slightly. And that's going to give it such a good caramelly taste. You're going to love it. You're going to be able to tell that good kick in your cookie that wasn't there before. Next thing we're going to do now is we're going to add 2.5 cups of flour. To make sure it's a nice heaping size of flour. You can use your finger or you can use a knife. That's one. Second one, again, make sure it's full to the top. That's 2. And now we're going to use our 1/2 cup. 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Make sure it's all-purpose flour. That's 2.5. Then you begin to let it blend slowly. Not too fast, because if you let it go too fast, what's going to happen is you're going to have flour everywhere. You're going to be like that woman in that commercial where she puts the flour all over her to make it look like she did a lot of work that day. So let it blend. Let it blend, and make sure you scrape down your sides. That's one of the most important things, is to make sure you scrape down your sides, because there will be a lot of batter on your sides. So scrape down your sides and scrape it off your powder zone, and let it begin to blend again. Sometimes you may have to do like I'm doing and lift up your bowl and make sure your bowl is completely locked into place. Put your powder back down, lock it in, and then we put it back on and let it blend up. Now you want it to mix, you want to watch the consistency of it mixing. Again, you want to scrape down the sides, let all that incorporate together, right? So you can have the best cookies that you want to possibly make. It's so easy. All this time I was so afraid of making and baking, and it's so easy to do. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of some sea salt. Just 1/2 teaspoon. And let's grab the other one. 1/2 teaspoon sea salt. And we're going to also add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Make sure it's baking soda and not baking powder. Now some recipes call for both, but this one we're only going to use baking soda. So we're going to do 1 teaspoon of baking soda. We're going to let that rip for a minute. Let it all incorporate. That's what makes your cookies so good and delectable, is that when you really let all the flavors marinate together in the cookies, it makes for a better cookie. Last, what we're going to do is, the recipe calls for about 3/4 a bag of chocolate chips. This is about a 1/4 bag here. But I'm going to tell you what I do. In addition to doing 3/4 a bag of chocolate chips, I also chopped up some chips and put that in there as well. So in every cookie, you have so many bites of chocolate chips. So this one, I just took a regular Hershey bar and I cut it up, and you put it in there as well. Yes, it's going to make for a great cookie. Then finally, we're going to blend it all up again and let it all incorporate together. I'm telling you, this is going to be a good cookie. You just watch and see. It doesn't take long. Now, we're all done. Let's lift the head. Make sure you get all that cookie dough, all of it, off of your accessory. Look at that. Oh, this is going to be really moist. Look at how it's sliding down. This is going to be so good, so moist. I am so glad I gave up the fear and started baking. Not only am I glad, my family is glad. They're enjoying the benefits of me starting to bake. Homemade baking. Yes. And now we're at the step where we're going to take our mixture of chocolate chip cookie batter and put it on our trays that are already lined. And what I like to do is spray my ice cream scooper. And I use this kind, it's a little bit bigger because I like to make bigger cookies. I have big men that I live with, so I make the bigger cookies. So you just take it, I let it form in there, and then I just scoop it out on the parchment paper. And you want to scoop it out evenly. Why? You really want to try to have the cookies to be about the same size. So form it, and then scoop it out. There we go. Make sure you have space between the cookies so that they can spread. Form it, and scoop it out. And that's all there is to it. We're going to repeat this. This batch should yield us about 2 dozen of cookies. And once we're finished, we're going to pop those into the oven, 350 for 12 minutes, and take them out. And even if the middle part looks much lighter, it's perfect. As long as the ends, the round ends, are getting crispy and that middle part is light, I promise you, you're going to have an excellent cookie. So we're just going to continue on this vein, and I'll see you again in a few minutes. And here we have it, our trays that we're getting ready to put in the oven for 12 minutes. We yielded 23 cookies because the cookies were bigger, but I probably could have gotten a little bit more than 2 dozen if I made them smaller. But you put them on the parchment paper, and then you put them in your oven. Make sure you put your timer on 12 minutes, because after that you'll have a perfect cookie. We'll see you on the other side when they're done. And so now our cookies are out of the oven. What I did, because I made extra large cookies, again because I have extra large men, is I gave it a little bit more cooking time. So instead of 12 minutes, I did 16 minutes for the cookies because they were much larger. And so I took them out the oven, and you place them on a cooling rack to let them cool for a few minutes so they can get crisp on the bottom and still be chewy on the top. And they look excellent. Let's try one. Nice and crispy on the outside, chewy on the inside. Listen, you must follow this recipe. It's filled with chocolate chip. The butter gives it such an intense flavor, and also the vanilla paste. Don't forget that. I'm so grateful that you joined me today. Again, don't let fear kick in. I was fearful I was going to mess up on making cookies, but you know what? The good thing about baking is if you mess up, you get another chance. You could dump it in the garbage and start all over again. Don't let fear rule your life, all right? Thank you for joining us on Cooking with Kathy. We'll see you again the next time. God bless you.